Continuing from the previous episode 214, Xu Ni's powerful attack also came to Mu Feng in an instant. With Xu Ni's strength, he had absolute confidence to seriously injure Mu Feng. Xu Ni's giant axe is called Cracking Mountain Axe, which is a giant axe with a long history. Rumor has it that this axe is full of power, and it has the power to split mountains. A mountain range rises from the ground. In addition, the promotion of branches and mountains are closely linked, so even if it is the peak of the four Do Emperors, it is extremely difficult to express the might of the mountain. After the familiar palm gently touched her, Yueru felt that a familiar and extremely huge force was also attacking Naxuni. Damn it! Mu Feng also saw that Xu Ni actually exuded such terrifying power, and also knew that this was coming with the intention of killing, and then secretly cursed, and then had no time to escape, so he had to resist. Boom boom boom! The heavy axe in Xu Ni's hands slashed fiercely, and the blood and flesh in his imagination did not appear, but he felt that the giant axe in his hand seemed to be blocked by some hard movement. In front of Mu Feng, the terrifying attack of Xu Ni's double axe was blocked by a heavy black ruler. Are you looking for me? Xiao Yan also raised his head and smiled at Xu Ni. There was a sense of confidence in his smile. Just a hairy boy who knows how to hide behind a woman. Do you think that breaking through to the early stage of the 4-star Do Di can change the situation? The real powerhouse is, Xu Ni also said with a proud face. Obviously, the three people who didn't know the 4-star Do Emperor early stage could bring him a lot of trouble. After all, two of them have lost their fighting ability. As for this Xiao Yan's words, there's a lot of nonsense. After Xiao Yan finished speaking, he raised his left hand slightly, and suddenly the ancient ruler of different fires in his hand exerted force, shaking Xu Ni's giant axe away. Are you all right? Xiao Yan also stretched out his right hand and walked towards Mu Feng. Obviously, what Mu Feng said just now was also heard by Xiao Yan. Not to mention anything else, it is because Mu Feng knows the profound technique of slaying demons and exorcising demons, so that Xiao Yan can make friends. What Mu Feng said is indeed true. After all, if it is a lie, it cannot escape Xiao Yan. This huge soul power. Hey, it's alright, if you come a little late, you'll be fine. Mu Feng also grinned, obviously not taking other things to heart. Breakthrough? This Xu Ni is a bit strong. The powerhouses in the late stage of the 4-star Do Di are also ranked 11th just after you. Mu Feng and Xiao Yan were also talking intermittently. Don't worry, I can handle it. After Xiao Yan finished speaking, a delicate bottle appeared in front of Mu Feng, and Mu Feng accepted it unceremoniously. Then Mu Feng moved to the side, opened the bottle and found that a very fragrant medicinal herb was also spread out, and then it was too late to swallow the pain. If you say enough, you will die. Xu Ni also discovered that the medicinal pills in Mu Feng's hands were not ordinary, and must be some quite high-level medicinal pills, which also had a very good effect on restoring strength. Xiao Yan also secretly guessed that if he was not the son of a big family, then he must be an alchemist with a high rank. Xu Ni was covered in red vindictiveness, and then the double axe in his hand also exuded a wave of destruction, and then Xu Ni moved. Unpredictable, unprepared. Just be fast. Ruthless. Allow. Be fast. Let the opponent not be able to distinguish between the afterimage and the main body. The shot must be ruthless. The terrifying attack can make the opponent unable to fight back. The attack must be accurate. Focus on the enemy's vital points to attack, so that one hit is deadly. Xinya 81 Zhang Wian Wang U. Kai 8.1 ZS. Koem Xu Ni moved. The left hand of the giant axe in both hands was slightly pulled back, and then rotated in place. The right giant axe flew viciously towards Xiao Yan with the help of inertia. Xu Ni himself already has 1,000 jins of power, and with this inertial force, it has a terrifying weight of 6,000 jins. If you are hit by these terrifying slashes, you will have to shed skin if you don't die. Humph! Xiao Yan also snorted coldly, and then the terrifying flames instantly possessed his body. He held the ancient ruler of eternal fire with both hands tightly. On the ancient ruler of eternal fire, 23 colors were slowly flowing. Right, 23. Relying on the 22 different fires brought by Xiao Yan from the Do Qi continent, and now adding Long Yi's original fire, there are already 23. The source fire that devoured Long Yi not only improved Xiaoyan's strength, but also Xiaoyan was pleasantly surprised to find that the Fenju in his body also instantly entered the low level of the immortal rank. Although it is only a low-level immortal, it is undoubtedly insignificant compared to a high-level heaven. If it is said that Fenju, a high-level heaven ranked, is the C, then the current low-ranking immortal rank is just several Cs gathered together. Xiaoyan didn't use any poison either. He just held the ancient ruler of eternal fire and faced Shu Ni's attack head-on. Save! The giant axe and the different fire constant ancient ruler attacked together tightly. Then, two different types of fighting chi storms swept across from the feet of the two of them. The space where the two were fighting seemed to be solidified. The giant axe and the ancient ruler of the different fire were tightly attached to each other, and the two were also expressionless. The next moment, the 23 colors of flames above the eternal fire eternal ruler suddenly passed through the giant axe, and then went towards Shu Ni. Damn it! Now it was Shu Ni's turn to be surprised. Although he had long expected that Xiaoyan would not be a simple character, and he was more prepared, how could he imagine that Xiaoyan's flames would find a hole in it? You must know that Shu Ni is an extremely powerful fire attribute linked to Powerhouse www.novelmtl.com. Therefore, when dealing with Xiaoyan, who is also a fire attribute, a simple understanding of this will not have any effect, and it will not attract any attention. The flames on Xiaoyan's body were in his eyes. But at this time he was wrong. And it's terribly wrong. Xiaoyan's flames are really terrifying. When the 23 different flames were just passed to Shu Ni along the giant axe, Shu Ni realized that something was wrong, but when he wanted to expel the flame, he realized that something was wrong, but it was already too late. 23 kinds of flames invaded Shu Ni's body, and then flames of different natures began to stimulate their characteristics. Void swallowing inflammation, responsible for swallowing and writing the fighting spirit in Shu Ni's body. Even if he is the strength of the late 4-star Do Emperor, he can't withstand much swallowing. The pure lotus demon fire, when Shu Ni used his grudge, produced a flame that burned his inner soul a little, so Shu Ni had to guard against it. The blazing flames of blood burned the blood in Shu Ni's body, as if even the blood could burn. 23 kinds of flames jumped up and down in Shu Ni's body, so that Shu Ni, who was arrogant, also had a lot of sweat on his forehead. He had no doubt that if he let these flames in his body, then within a quarter of an hour, your internal organs will be turned to ashes. Just when Shu Ni was in a hurry, Xiaoyan moved, and an attack containing terrifying energy also appeared in front of Shu Ni. Ask for tickets. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 215. Damn boy. Shu Ni also shouted angrily, and while busy dealing with the terrifying flames in his body, he had to use his strength to deal with Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan's huge soul power has long known that Shu Ni is arrogant, and it is also calculated that when the strange fire enters the body, it will have a certain impact on Shu Ni, but he did not expect that Xiaoyan still underestimated these 23 strange fires. The power of Xinya 81 Zhang Huiyan Wang Wu, Kai 8.1 ZS, Koem. However, Xiaoyan didn't have time to be overjoyed. The Henghuo ancient ruler in his hand attacked Shu Ni with even greater flame power. Although the previous attack had achieved some remarkable results, Xiaoyan did not dare to underestimate the enemy. After all, this Shu Ni had the strength of the late 4-star Do Emperor. Although he had now broken through to the early 4-star Do Emperor, he could not take it lightly. What's more, this Shu Ni is only the 11th ranked powerhouse, and there are 9 powerhouses ahead of him, so it is undoubtedly the most stupid to reveal too much power at this time, so Xiaoyan is also preparing to surprise him. Move to win. After all, you can hide your strength in the final decisive battle to be unexpected. Above the huge Yuo Heng ancient ruler, colorful flames formed a huge fire dragon around the Yuo Heng ancient ruler, and roared away at Shu Ni with its ferocious mouth open. Shuanglong takes water. Shu Ni also shouted loudly, and then the huge fighting energy gathered on the 2 giant axes, facing Xiaoyan's attack head-on. Double dragons take water is a trick that gathers the power in the body on the giant axe to form 2 forces with completely different properties, and then uses the 2 explosive forces with completely different properties to suppress the opponent. Boom boom boom. Xiaoyan's eternal fire dragon's ferocious giant mouth and Shu Ni's round giant axe collided fiercely, sending out a terrifying flame storm. The next moment, the attack was over, and the two of them flew out behind them in unison. The most embarrassing thing is to count Shu Ni. Although he is a powerhouse in the late stage of the 4-star Do-D, but when he first fought, the flames of 23 colors passed from Xiaoyan's Yuo Heng ancient ruler. It caused a lot of obstruction to his body, so that Shu Ni did not dare to go all out to deal with Xiaoyan. After all, the power of these 23 colors should not be underestimated. 2. Shu Ni took dozens of steps back to stabilize his body, and then the double giant axe was directly inserted into the ground. At this time, his breath soared, obviously preparing to launch a powerful attack. On the other side, Xiaoyan also took a few steps back to stabilize his figure, and the palm of his hand holding the eternal fire Heng ancient ruler couldn't help but feel a slight tremor, which was obviously the aftermath of the fight with Shu Ni just now. This Shu Ni really deserves to be a powerhouse in the late stage of the 4-star Do-D. Even if he is penetrated by my strange fire, he can still use such terrifying power to fight back. Xiaoyan also muttered to himself, then stared at Shu Ni. On his body, watching the 23 color flames gradually condense together, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It's almost. After speaking, the aura all over his body soared, and he was raised to the level of the early stage of the 4-star Do Emperor. The eternal fire eternal ruler in his hand is also surrounded by milky white flames. Obviously a terrifying offensive is brewing. What is Xiaoyan laughing at? Shu Ni was also extremely puzzled, and then he didn't care why Xiaoyan laughed, and gradually compressed the flames that were running around in his body to one place, trying to catch them all in one go. At this time, Shu Ni's body was extremely spectacular. Flames of various colors continued to emerge from his arms, chest, and thighs. If you counted them carefully, you would find that there were as many as 23 colors. Shu Ni also intends to condense and compress all these flames into one place and then wipe out the others. After all, these flames are violent by nature, and there is no room for sand in their eyes. Compressed in the same place, the resistance between the flames is also easy for Shu Ni to wipe out. Hoo! Many beads of sweat appeared on Shu Ni's forehead. Obviously, it was extremely difficult and laborious to compress these flames to one place, but fortunately they succeeded. At this time, Shu Ni's body has returned to normal skin color, only the thighs have some gorgeous colors. The next step is to catch all the flames. The power of these flames is not bad, but it's a pity that they met me. Shu Ni murmured, and when he was about to use his strength to destroy the flames in his body, Xiaoyan moved. At the moment when Shu Ni was performing the exercises, Xiaoyan was not idle either. He first closed his eyes and rested his mind, mobilizing his arrogance to gather on the ancient ruler of eternal fire, and then the next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes and faced the place where Shu Ni was. Location omitted. The eternal fire eternal ruler in his hand not only had a dazzling light at this time, but also had an extremely huge aura of destruction. The first level of the 7-level breaking sky ruler. Silence. The sound of coercion came, and then 100 Zhong-sized flame energy slashed down towards Shu Ni viciously. Li Shen. Seeing this, Shu Ni also knew that this was Xiaoyan's plan. After all, this was the infernal corpse forest in the trials, and countless people were jealous of the points in their hands. The longer the battle, the less safe it would be. However, although Xiaoyan's attack was extremely tyrannical, it was a bit of a fuss for Shu Ni in the late stage of the 4-star Do-D. After all, Shu Ni also found that Xiaoyan's body was gradually weakening, and the only one who won this battle was himself. I saw Shu Ni separate a force to compress the 23 kinds of flames in his body, and then suddenly picked up the giant axe inserted into the ground with both linked to H and S. www.novelmtl.com. Put his hands together, and immediately the two giant axe merged into one. The energy shadow of a huge axe with a size of 100 meters also met Xiaoyan's attack viciously. Boom boom boom. The clash of two terrifying forces in the sky immediately attracted the attention of countless low-level monsters and ghosts in the surrounding mountains and forests, and then they also flew away as if fleeing for their lives, because the place where the two attacked, a giant tornado of thousands of meters was also slowly forming. and that Xiao Yan and Shu Ni were also in a stalemate one by one in the giant tornado. Damn boy, today will be your Memorial Day next year. Go to hell, Shu Ni also said with a grim smile, and then an even larger force came from within the body, and then passed through the giant axe in his hand and attacked Xiao Yan. At this time, Xiao Yan spent nearly one half of his vindictive energy because of the 7th layer breaking Sky Ruler just now, so when he saw that Shu Ni thought he had such terrifying power, he couldn't help but frown slightly. Just as Shu Ni's attack was about to touch Xiao Yan laughed loudly and said, "It's almost time. The Lotus of Annihilation, if it doesn't explode at this time, when will it be?" As Xiao Yan's laughter fell, a terrifying energy exploded instantly at the place where the 23 kinds of flames that were compressed to the naked eye were compressed by Shu Ni's thigh. Shu Ni, who had won the lottery in his hand, felt a slight chill down his spine when he heard the words, and a smell of death permeated his heart. Ask for tickets. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 216. Just when Shu Ni was triumphantly preparing to strike Xiao Yan to death, with Xiao Yan's shout, Shu Ni also noticed that the 23 kinds of flames that had been compressed in one place in his thigh were suddenly fused together. And then an extremely terrifying energy also made Shu Ni too late to prepare, and it exploded. Shu Ni didn't have time to think too much about why these 23 extremely violent flame powers could offset this resistance in an instant, and immediately mobilized all the fighting chi against his thighs, and such terrifying power erupted and circled around. It is not enough to deal with the strength of the late 4-star Do Di of Yishuni. Bang bang bang. The terrifying explosion also exploded in an instant, and then the place where Shu Ni was also shrouded in layers of smoke, and the scorching temperature in the smoke also caused both De Yueru and Mu Feng to change color slightly. Vulgar. Go to *** with resentment. Xiao Yan also snorted coldly, and then the huge soul force formed a huge invisible attack to face Shu Ni. Although the power of the fusion of the 23 types of flames cannot be underestimated, this Shu Ni is a late-stage 4-star Do Di. Xiao Yan had to be careful, and then a terrifying attack was instantly directed at the center of the explosion. Shu Ni, who was struggling to resist the power of the flames, went away. Wangchen Tianwu. A terrifying attack also came to Shu Ni in an instant, and then hit Shu Ni's soul heavily. Although Shu Ni was surrounded by a lot of smoke at the center of the explosion, this did not affect Xiao Yan's attack at all. After all, Xiao Yan, with his powerful soul power, already knew the exact location of Shu Ni in the smoke, so he also accurately hit Shu Ni. At the center of the flame explosion, Shu Ni was concentrating on resisting the terrifying force above his thigh. Since it was the force that exploded from inside his thigh, Shu Ni had a lot of possibilities to save his leg with his powerful strength. It is also impossible to care about Xiao Yan. At this moment, an invisible attack silently attacked the depths of Shu Ni's soul, and then Shu Ni's body stagnated for a moment, as if he had suffered heavy damage. The moment Shu Ni paused, the terrifying flame energy also instantly destroyed Shu Ni's body with an unstoppable force. When Shu Ni came back to his senses, he roared. Boom boom boom. The explosion lasted for a few quarters of an hour and then slowly disappeared, revealing a vague figure. Yueru and Mu Feng also felt a touch of familiarity from the vague figure. It was Shu Ni. But the latter is quite embarrassed now. There are wounds of different degrees all over the body, and blood is slowly flowing out, and then the most obvious purpose is the blood on the hands. Obviously, it is quite difficult to deal with the terrifying flame. Slowly looking down from Shu Ni, he was surprised to find that Shu Ni was actually standing on one foot on his left. Taking a closer look, he suddenly found that Shu Ni's other right foot was gone. It's just that drop by drop of blood keeps dripping from the wound. The breath all over the body is also sluggish. Where is the aura of the powerhouse in the later stage of the 4-star Do Emperor? The terrifying explosion on the thigh was accompanied by the flames everywhere, and I saw that Shu Ni was also staring at Xiao Yan with a ferocious expression, and muttered to himself as if roaring out, "Little bastard, today's labor and capital will not kill you, I promise Shu Ni." Not human, haha. Then it depends on whether you have this ability. Xiao Yan also snorted coldly, some medicinal pills appeared in his hand, and then he devoured them directly into his stomach, and then looked carefully. Honey, the previous 23 different flame powers were obviously deliberately done by Xiao Yan himself. On the one hand, they put pressure on Shu Ni, and on the other hand, they also laid the groundwork for the fusion and explosion in Shu Ni. These are not to say that Xiao Yan is afraid of this Shu Ni, because Xiao Yan also noticed that some people stronger than this Shu Ni are coming towards them, the words of those people. It is only possible that it is a strong player in the points-grabbing competition ranked in front of Xiao Yan, so it is not good to expose too many trump cards, so this is the reason for Xiao Yan's play. But what Xiao Yan didn't expect was that Shu Ni didn't get rid of these flames in the first place. At first, Xiao Yan's purpose was just to distract Shu Ni. How could he think that Shu Ni actually wanted to condense and compress these flames into together, and then refining and swallowing become your own power? Xinya 81 Zhang Huiyan Wang Wu, Kai 8.1 ZS, Koim. This is really a daring artist. However, Shu Ni still miscalculated. In fact, the violent power between the 23 kinds of flames disappeared without a trace in Xiao Yan's body for the first time. Huge destructive power. Then, with Shu Ni's huge strength in the late stage of the 4-star Do Di, the explosive power of these 23 flame fusions is not an unsolvable problem, but when Xiao Yan was concentrating on dealing with the destructive power of flames, a Wangchen Tianwu also attacked, and the short-term stagnation cost Shu Ni's life. However, this Shu Ni is also a decisive person who is decisive when he is decisive. When Huang Quan's anger caused the insufficient supply of vindictive energy in his body and stagnated for a moment, the destructive power of the flame had spread to the entire right leg, and it was immediately a huge axe. Cut off his right leg directly. Stop the spread of this destructive power. This is the current scene. I have to say that Xiao Yan also admires this decisive force very much, because it will hurt his own origin. If there is no way, he would not be willing to do this. However, what Shu Ni did was the most correct approach, because it contained the fusion power of 23 terrifying flames, and the power of destruction that exploded was extremely terrifying. If Shu Ni did not cut off his right leg decisively, then once the power of destruction spreads to the whole body, so with the power of the flame, there is no need to attack at all, and this Shu Ni can be directly consumed to death. After thinking for a link to while www.novelmtl.com Xiao Yan's vindictive energy also recovered, and then he slowly walked towards Shu Ni. At this time, because Shu Ni cut off his right leg, although it prevented the spread of the power of destruction, it also hurt the source, and his strength actually dropped to the middle stage of the 4-star fighting emperor. But even if it wasn't like this, Xiao Yan still had the confidence to kill this Shu Ni. After all, Shu Ni's strength was greatly reduced after the explosion of flames. At this time, he was already at the end of the game. It seems that I still underestimate your strength. The strength of the peak of the 3-star Do Di has swallowed the points of the remaining ash, and there are indeed 2 scumbags. Shu Ni said weakly. The hideous one just now had already disappeared without a shadow. Traces, some are just extremely calm now. However, you underestimate my Shu Ni too. In the late stage of the 4-star Do Di, Zuni, the cracking mountain axe, is the 11th. I can't lose to a kid in the early stage of the 4-star Do Di, impossible. The crack mountain family does not tolerate waste. Shu Ni roared as if crazy, and then a terrifying wave spread out. No, run! Xiao Yan also shouted loudly, then before he had time to think about it, he grabbed Mu Feng and Yueru with his left and right hands, and quickly fled from here. Shu Ni dragged his extremely embarrassed body, laughing wildly. The giant axe in his hand also exploded, and a terrifying storm that was enough to destroy the powerhouses in the late stage of the 4-star Do Di also swept the 4 directions. Ask for a ticket. End of this chapter, continuing from the previous episode 217. This volatility. It's Shu Ni. I didn't expect that Xiao Yan could force Shu Ni to display such an offensive. Chu Huoniao also looked at the place where the explosion occurred, and then said softly. Brother Chu, what did Shu Ni cast? Said a young man beside Chu Huoniao. Shu Ni is showing his housekeeping skills. The power of the origin of the axe of splitting mountains. The giant axe used by Shu Ni is called the split mountain axe. It can be divided into 2 parts when attacking, but the real power lies in the split mountain axe. Shu Ni is the proud son of the split mountain family. Axe, its status in the family is definitely not low. Xinya 81 Zhang Huiyan Wang Wu, Chi 8.1 ZS, Co-M. It is said that this mountain-splitting axe is the treasure of the Town clan in their split mountain family. Also, although the mountain-splitting axe is only listed among the spiritual tools, its power is no trivial matter. The mountain-splitting axe can continuously devour the blood power of the enemy, so as to absorb and transform it into an extremely terrifying force stored in the mountain-splitting axe. Once Shu Ni is defeated, this terrifying power will be released. This force is quite difficult even for me to deal with. Chu Wanyao said solemnly, that Xiao Yan, who is at the peak of the 3-star Do Di, can force Shu Ni to use this last resort, which is enough to show how unusual this kid is. But no matter how he jumps, he's always just a clown. In the face of a strong man like you, Brother Chu, it's only the end of the game. The people around Chu Wantiao also said. Hopefully. Chu Huaniao also smiled slightly, and then regardless of the words of the people around him, his eyes went straight into the explosion site. According to Chu Huaniao's perception, Shu Ni was already at the end of his force at this time, but for some reason, some faint breaths were escaping from the center of the explosion. After Shu Ni exerted the power in the mountain-splitting axe, the monstrous explosion burst out in an instant. Compared with the explosion produced by the fusion of the 23 kinds of flames, it was not weak at all. As Shu Ni finished his last offensive, his vindictive energy also fell into a state of exhaustion, terrifying fluctuations spread, and then the token on his body was instantly shattered, and Shu Ni's body also disappeared in the corpse forest. The points on his token also instantly turned into a ray of light that was invisible to the naked eye and came to Xiao Yan's token. At this time, Xiao Yan also waved his hand, and then these points were turned into Yueru and Mu Feng. The points and rankings of the two are also skyrocketing. At this time, Shu Ni, who was ranked 11th, also officially announced his departure from the competition. Xiao Yan also discovered the horror of this power when Shu Ni's mountain-splitting axe had just used the terrifying source power, and then pulled Yueru and Mu Feng away from the scene without looking back. With his huge and outstanding soul power, Xiao Yan is also very sensitive to danger. Then Xiao Yan discovered this scene when Shu Ni was just laughing wildly. It's dangerous. Mu Feng was also at the scene of escaping, and then looked at the shocking explosive force and said, there was some shock in his voice. On the one hand, the shock is that you are already at the end of a strong arrow, but you can still burst out so terrifying. The power of the 11th is indeed well deserved. On the other hand, this Xiao Yan escaped with them before the explosion started. Xiao Yan, these points are too important, and you have won this Shu Ni from beginning to end. We are just helpers. We can't stand such a big gift. You should take it back. Yueru said softly, and then picked up her jade hand. Token, actually want to assign the points on the token to Xiao Yan. Yes, you can take it back. Mu Feng also smiled quietly, and then did the same thing as Yueru. No need, just accept it. If you didn't protect me and let me break through the 4-star Do Di, these points would not have been so easy to get you. Xiao Yan waved his hand and refused. That's good. There is still some time anyway. You have the final say on where to go, and you will get all the points in the future. Mu Feng also laughed loudly. A conspicuous light word also appeared in front of everyone. At this time, Yuru's points have reached 18,000, and her ranking has been raised to 44, while Mu Feng's has reached 19,000, and her ranking has been raised to 33. Where are we going next? Yuru bit her lips slightly, and apparently discovered a few terrifying forces, all of which were heading towards their previous battlefield at the same time. Why don't we go to the 3rd floor of the infernal corpse forest to avoid the limelight for a while? There are still 15 days before the end. Xiao Yan also moved his eyes slightly, and then looked at the distant sky. Xiao Yan also discovered that those rather terrifying forces were coming towards their previous positions. Although these people were stronger than Shu Ni, Xiao Yan was not afraid of them, but now before the finals, there is no need to fight to the death. The 3rd floor, although it's dangerous, it's a good place. They wouldn't have thought of it. Mu Feng said with a grin. At this time, Mu Feng could be regarded as a friend of Xiao Yan, so he simply sang with Xiao Yan. It's not too late, let's go now. There are almost quite powerful auras coming here. It's too late to have a conflict with them. Xiao Yan also saw that the two had no objection, and said, Go! The three of them looked at each other one after another, their speed increased to the extreme, and they headed towards the third floor of the infernal corpse forest. Outside the Yin corpse forest, inside a pavilion. Ha ha ha. This kid didn't disappoint me. Wu Zhang also laughed. Tisk tisk. This kid is beyond my expectations. Hu Du also said depressedly. Ha ha ha. I told you a long time ago that the vision must be long-term. Wu Zhang continued. Okay, I know, are you bothered? Hu Du also rolled his eyes and said. Why did Mu Yingying go to the third floor? Keep an eye on it. If something happens, we will take action directly. This is a good seedling. Wu Zhang also said vigilantly. This Mu Yingying's origin is also quite mysterious. Do you want to investigate it? Hu Du saw with a roll of white paper, and found that the information about Mu Yingying on it was also pitiful. Don't use it for the time being, lest there will be more troubles for no reason. Yeah. After the two of them finished speaking, they were looking at the many crystal asterisk in front of them. After all, to prevent these people from having an accident, it's better to do it yourself. Damn. Zuni's points were also taken away by them. Looking at the light characters of Yueru and Mu Feng in the sky to improve their ranking and link to points www.novelmtl.com/Chu Huaniao also shouted angrily. They have gone through such a big battle, and they must have just won Shu Ni by luck. Their bodies are also extremely burdened, and their fighting spirit is running out. They should not go far yet, let's chase, said the figure beside Chu Wanyao. Waste. Don't you know by this time? He Xiaoyan was a fluke once, can it be luck the second time? You idiots! Chu Wanyao said angrily, how could his father send so many wastes to follow him? He, I wonder who is angry here. It turns out to be Chu Huo Nio. You're still the same, you like to get angry like this. A kind voice also appeared. Chu Wantiao looked up, and a fat man with a rather bloated figure also appeared in front of several people. Damn it, it's actually Luo Guang. Chu Huo's expression became solemn. How is it possible? It's actually the third-ranked, King Kong is not bad Luo Guangpong. Chu Huaniao's entourage was also surprised. Ask for a ticket tilde there are a lot of things to do after the school starts, classes, club affairs, and I have been studying for a driver's license for a long time, so the update is a little slow. When I am almost free, I will work hard to break out. After a long time, I will update it twice a day. Dear readers, please forgive me tilde, end of this chapter, continuing from the previous episode 218. King Kong is not bad, Luo Guangpong, what are you doing? Chu Huoniao said solemnly. In front of this King Kong is not bad, Luo Guangpeng's title has spread far and wide in this trial. The third place in the points plundering competition, Luo Guang, is known to have the title of King Kong is not bad Luo Guangfa. Even if Chu Huoniao is very difficult to deal with this Luo Guang, the title of this Luo Guang should not be called for nothing, Although I don't know what kind of exercises Luo Guang is practicing, but when he fights, his body is covered with iron walls. Even Chu Huoniao, who is as strong as the late 4-star Do Emperor, looks ugly. It should be that Luo Guang's defensive power is amazing, even he is helpless. I'm not looking for you, I'm just looking for this kid named Xiaoyan. The fat man named Luo Guang also said with a smile. Chu Wanyao was relieved when he heard the words, and then he said, which Xiaoyan seems to have found that we have already escaped from here. Since this is the case, let's see you in the finals. In the last 15 days, I don't believe he won't come out. It's just that Chu Huo Bird didn't seem to notice that the location where Luo Guang disappeared was the entrance to the second floor of the Yin corpse forest. Master, what should we do now? Chu Huoniao's entourage asked. Chase, I want to see how powerful this Xiaoyan is. After Chu Huoniao finished speaking, he was the first to head towards the place where Xiaoyan escaped. Xiaoyan and the other three kept leaving the corpse forest at a high speed. After all, Luo Guang and Chu Huoniao were much stronger than Shu Ni. Now that they had enough points, it was time to avoid the limelight and wait until the end. The finals are coming out. The three came to a dark place, and saw a dark passage also appearing in front of the three. Careful, the huge two characters are placed in a prominent position. This. Mu Feng also stared at the two prominent words directly above the dark passage, and then thought for a moment. It's alright. Xiaoyan put a hand on Mu Feng's shoulder as he spoke, and then an extremely gentle flame energy spread throughout Mu Feng's body, making Mu Feng feel indescribably comfortable. Go! Then Xiao Yan and the three looked at each other and disappeared on the second floor of the infernal corpse forest, heading towards the third floor of the infernal corpse forest. Outside the corpse forest. Report. Someone has entered the third floor of the infernal corpse forest. A young man said respectfully to Wu Zhang. Who is that? Wu Zhang also asked softly. It's a man with a heavy ruler on his back, with a man and a woman beside him, the young man said. Understood. Let's go. You have done a good job, make persistent efforts. Wu Zhang also said. Yes. The encouraged young man also seemed to have been beaten with blood, and disappeared into the corpse forest to observe the movements of the participants. The ghost chi here is so heavy. As soon as he left the dark passage, a rush of ghost chi came directly to his face, and then Mu Feng said with a solemn expression. As a person who has dealt with ghosts all year round, Mu Feng is familiar with ghosts, so the more dignified the breath represents, the stronger the ghosts are. Mu Feng, what's the matter with you? Yu Ru also noticed that Mu Feng was using some strange handprints, and then said. It's alright, I'll put a spell on you, which can greatly reduce the erosion of these ghosts. Mu Feng also began to mutter when he finished speaking. After reciting the incantation in his mouth, he gestured some strange movements in his hand. At the same time, 3 gray rays of light flew towards Xiao Yan, Yueru and Mu Feng. As soon as the gray light touched the body, it turned into an invisible force, constantly blocking the erosion of ghost energy. This power is so strange. Xiao Yan couldn't help but praise. Although Xiao Yan possessed a huge flame protection body, it did not mean that Yueru and the others possessed it. On the third floor of the infernal corpse forest where the concentration of ghost chi had increased significantly, they clearly felt that the use of vindictive chi had been suppressed to varying degrees. However, under the protection of Mu Feng's gray light, this strange suppression also disappeared without a trace. Obviously, Mu Feng has a good way of dealing with this ghost. Everyone, be careful, the ghosts on the third floor of the corpse forest are also extremely powerful. Mu Feng also said coldly. The three looked at each other and moved forward slowly. Monster, are you sure it's here? Yukon Ghost also stared at a well in front of him, looked down deeply and asked in doubt. Although it is known that the other half of the Twin Ghost Emperor is sealed in the third floor of the corpse forest, the exact location is not quite sure. That's right, it's here according to my sensibility. Let's go down, the ghost spirit also said. After he finished speaking, he jumped into the well without waiting for the people outside to agree. Let's go too, Hong Yi said, and then followed in. Although Hong Yi is reluctant in every possible way, but for a certain person, he still has to be a tiger. Go! After Yukon finished speaking, it turned into a beam of light and streaks into the well. The ghost, the ghost of the secluded spring, and the red leaf, the master of the Red Mountain and Red Valley, the 3 strong men also entered a well, leaving a dry Red Valley person and ghosts waiting on the well. Hee, it's interesting now. A familiar figure also said from outside the link to well www.novelmtl.com. If you look closely, you will find that the figure talking is actually Muller. Let's go. Let me meet the powerhouses of the so-called point-grabbing competition. Muller also smiled strangely, and his aura was the same as that of a ghost. Humph. Impossible. The 2 adults, Yu Mei and Yukon, have gone down. It's not your decision here. A figure with a terrifying ghostly aura also stood up and said. You still can't do it. The 2 adults are not here. Naturally I have the final say here. Muller also said angrily. Obviously the ghost who caused trouble was obviously dissatisfied with Muller. That's right, even a mere 4-star Do Emperor wants to lead us, and he doesn't spit and look in the mirror. The people from Hunggu also stepped forward. Although they don't know why their Valley Master brought them here, but they have absolute trust in the Valley Master, so they didn't ask any more questions, but it is obvious that these people in Red Valley do not know that the ghosts in the ghost world are in front of them, otherwise now fight early. The strength of the contestants in the other people's point plundering competition is also extremely strong. If you want them to be the scapegoats, then this Muller is looking for the wrong person. Damn, you're actually doing it behind my back, and I'll have a chance to see you in the future if I don't kill you. Muller also said in his heart with anger, and then secretly wrote down a few people who were in his early years, and he must give them some color afterward. Look! After speaking, he calmed down, and then a trace of ghostly energy continued to emerge from the well, and then calmed down again. Long Yi, is the biggest treasure in the entire Infernal Corpse Forest that you mentioned is on the 3rd floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest? Xiao Yan also slowly communicated with the ruler above the ancient ruler of eternal fire. Ask for a ticket. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Shukju mobile version reading website.